Mortgage prison is real, so I want to share with you no bullshit advice around how to get wealthy, how to keep that wealth, and stop pretending like you're rich and actually go and make some real money. So in this video, I'm going to share with you all of my tips, and number 6 will trigger most people, but it's one factor that you really need to consider whether you're going to become a millionaire or not. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Hey guys, my name's Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because I talk about real estate, personal development, and all things financial freedom. This video is definitely personal development with sprinkles of real estate and financial freedom. I think these are just rules that you need to know, always process through your filter and get systems in place. And if you don't have those systems yet, you definitely need that because right now it's harder than ever before to just get ahead, let alone just staying above water. So let's dive into these 9 rules that I live by when it comes to thinking and not wanting to be average. It was one of the biggest things that scared me from the beginning. So when I started working, I went into full-time work literally the day after my school formal in year 12. So yes, some people start during school. I know that I just wanted to focus on the one thing, which was schooling. Year 11, year 12, went across into my first full-time job in retail, and I have never looked back. Now, a couple of years into that journey, I realized I did not want to be average. I did not want to work till I was 65. And while there is nothing wrong with that, I just think that most people follow that advice, get to 65 and hope that they're going to have this amazing retirement, which as we know now, hopefully if you've been watching the channel, that we are not going to be at 65 enjoying life. So we need to do things earlier in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s so that we can ensure that we're not only just managing lifestyle well today, so we're enjoying today while we're young, but also allow ourselves all the freedom and optionality later in life. So let's jump into it. Number 1 is do not buy your first home to live in. Now, I know it's counterintuitive and you may have already made this mistake, but what you're going to realize if you haven't made this mistake yet is that it's the best piece of advice that I received as well when I was 21. I had the choice of going out, getting my first homeowner grant and actually purchasing a place to live in, or I could go down the path of just rent vesting. Now, fortunately, I was in a position where I was living at home, but it's the same rules that I would apply right now, which is if I can go out there and rent somewhere I want to live, I would go out and use the excess funds and borrowing capacity to go and invest. Because the reality is, if you're in your 20s or 30s, the first home that you buy is only going to be applicable for you for now. So I see a lot of people, especially professional couples, that go, oh, I'm going to buy a home and it's the first home we're going to buy, it's the one we're going to live in. And that's to avoid having to pay rent. But they also know that they can't hold that property for longer than 3 or 4 years because they have plans to have kids. They may already have 1 kid, but they're planning to have a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. So what they find themselves doing is they live in this house purely because they didn't want to pay rent and hope that the market goes up. So then they can just turn that property into an investment and then by accident they become an investor because then they have to buy their own place. Now that's the best case scenario. In most cases, they have to sell the house they're living in to then go and upgrade. Now, the reality is you can just continue upgrading and yeah, you'll end up after 30 or 40 years being in a really nice house if everything works out. But now you've got a really nice house, you've got a bunch of debt that you still have to pay off and you have no other investments, which means you're guaranteeing yourself to have to work till 65 and there's no guarantee that you're gonna have optionality later on. So I would prefer to go, if I know I can't live in this house for the next 5 or 10 years anyway, I wanna buy the dream house. So instead of going in and just buying a house and then having to like go through renovations or upgrade, move again, I'm just gonna continue renting. And then when I wanna buy the dream house, I wanna buy the dream house. And that's the FU house. So that's how I would approach it. And it's gonna allow you to actually build freedom. It's literally what I've been doing for the last 12 years. Number 2, leverage is a weapon only if you attach it to hard assets. Now, what I mean by that is if you're gonna go out there, take out a loan to go and buy a new car, you're doing it absolutely wrong because you're now buying an asset that's actually depreciating in value. What you wanna do is use that debt to go and invest and grow your money. Because if you think about it, you can go ahead and use, say, $100,000 in the stock market, or you can go and use $100,000 to buy, say, Bitcoin. And that means you control $100,000 worth of assets. So if the market goes up by 10%, you made 10% on the 100K. But if you can use the 100K, leverage it up, and now you can go and buy a place for, say, 500K, and it goes up by 10%, you're making $50,000 instead of just the 10K. And that's how the wealthy are getting wealthier. But I wish more people knew this, and I know so many friends that just didn't follow that advice when I was telling them that, hey, I've just bought a property, and they said, you're a loser, you should have just bought your own home because you could buy anywhere and move out of home. I had no intentions to move out and also didn't want to attach my money to, say, an apartment that I could find down the street. So if I was talking to my friends again, I would be saying this exactly the same, which is go out there, invest the right way, and do it properly. If you can use leverage to your advantage, you will make so much money that you will never have to think about money again. But do it wrong, and money is going to be the only problem you have because you'll never have enough of it. Number 3 is cash flow keeps you in the game, capital growth gets you out of the game. If you go back to my earlier videos when interest rates are really low, cash flow was amazing. Now, cash flow is not so amazing, especially as we have suppression in the market when it comes to rental yields. And what I mean by that is the prices for properties are moving higher relative to the amount that the rent is growing. And so what happens is the properties that had a rental yield, say 2 years ago at 6%, now might be at closer to 5%. And that's going to continue happening until we have a reversal in the market. So if you're going out there and trying to just optimize for cash flow, you're going to find yourself in a position where you're having to go into high risk areas, high risk properties, which will absolutely destroy you. The game is that you want to have strong cash flow, so it keeps you in the game, so you can keep borrowing money, you can hold as many properties as possible without just letting go of your lifestyle. And then the capital growth is what really is the power, the engine, or the oil that I usually call it, in the machine that's growing in the background. If you then have that combination of the two, over time, in the 5-year window, you're going to find these properties go into a cash flow neutral or cash flow positive territory. Once it does that, it takes care of itself. So what you want to do is position yourself to make tax-free money, which is equity gaining on your properties. You can use that to then acquire more properties. I've got a video about how you use equity to scale up a portfolio. Definitely go check it out after this one. And it's going to allow you to go and achieve financial freedom a lot faster. Number 4 is the government does not care about you and it doesn't matter who you vote for. So I know this is quite controversial. People will get triggered by this and say, well, how dare you say something about the party that I've been supporting for 10 years? And to be honest, I don't think you should care either as much as you do about politics as you should about your personal finances. A lot of people go and focus on the wrong things. And that's why average people get average results, because average people are all thinking the same thing. But I want more for you. I want you to be above average. In fact, I want you to be in the top 10% when it comes to wealth. And the reason I say that is wealth may not be a concern right now, but it will be. And truth is that if the market's moving faster than you can save or increase your income, you're going to start feeling the pinch. And if you haven't already, in the next 5 to 10 years, things are going to get scary and you're going to start feeling like you're suffocating. That is the reality here in Australia. I don't make up the rules. The government does not care about you. And that's why you need to start thinking about your personal finances, because it's personal. The government's not going to come to your home and say, oh, thank you so much for voting for me. By the way, here's $100,000 because you voted for me. In fact, I care about your personal finances. It's never going to happen. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't care about politics, and I'm not saying you don't have a say and your vote doesn't count. I'm just saying rearrange those priorities. If you're thinking, hey, I can't wait to get home and watch the news, how about I can't wait to get home and read a book or watch one of Ravi's videos and really learn about why money is so important, because once you get it right, you just never have to think about it again. Number 5 is hire experts, not uncles. So this one is personal favorite purely because I've seen this play out in my own life and I've seen it in every other aspect, not just in real estate. I'll give you an example. When my wife and I moved in together for the first time, we actually already were dating for a while. We had no issues at all, we would get along, but that's a highlight reel. You see each other for a couple of hours a week, then you go back home, it's all great. But when you move in together, you learn a few things. And I'm sure there's a few of you going smirking saying, yeah, I definitely learned a few things. Now I'm in a very fortunate position where we get along really well. So like best friends, right? So for us, we totally believed it was just staying over with your best friend and it was going to be the best thing ever. And it was exactly that. Until we had to go and clean the apartment. Now, for me, I'm very much an efficiency guy. I want to optimize my time. I didn't think going out there and cleaning the kitchen every single day was a priority versus me growing a business. And I thought, if I go ahead and grow the business the way I can and allocate all of my time to that, I'm going to end up making so much more than me going and utilizing my skills, especially because it's a weakness. I'm not so great at it and I don't like it. So what ended up happening is we had some friction around it. And what I realized was, okay, so we have friction around this one topic. Why don't we outsource it? Let's go and find a team that can do this for us. Now, mind you, this was met with a lot of criticism, not just by my wife, but by our parents as well. And they were like, you're seriously gonna pay someone to go and clean your apartment? Now, some of you guys might still get triggered by that. But to me, if I could have 2 hours back on a Saturday where I can be in deep thought to think about my business and growing that, or going to the gym and working on my health, that's going to bring me a greater return on investment than me simply going in and scrubbing some dishes. So that's exactly what we did. As soon as we brought that in, we realized they could do a better job than her and I could. And it also meant that that one issue has now become the best part of our lives because, hey, the kitchen looked beautiful. The key learning here was that I wasn't trusting what our parents were saying or what, society was going to say. It was, hey, this seems like a really good idea. Logically speaking, why aren't we doing this? And if I can then go and outsource on my weaknesses or the stuff I don't have time for and I'm not passionate about, I can go out there and double down on my strengths. So if you're watching this, you're obviously interested in real estate. So you might go, well, okay, maybe I'm not so great at managing my own property. That's why you have a property manager. I'm not so great at managing my finances. That's why I have an accountant. I'm not so great at looking at policies day in, day out. So that's why I go to a mortgage broker. I also don't know every area that's growing and every agent that I can call to get the right property. So instead of missing out, that's why I get a buyer's agent. So this is how you've got to think about it, is not just how do I get there individually? How do I get there with the right people in my team? Because the reality is, even if it costs you 5% of the total cost of everything you do, the upside that you get over the next 10, 15, 20 years is going to be so worth it. If someone said to you, you've got to pay $5, but you could ultimately have 100, you're saying, yeah, I don't care about the 5 because I've still got 95. And I wouldn't have the 95 if I didn't have the team. Number 6, and the most controversial, it will trigger people, is taking no risk is the biggest risk. You find so many articles, you see so many things, and you also hear from so many people, this is the worst time to start a business. This is the worst time to go ahead and take that risk. This is the worst time to go and buy an investment property. This is the worst time to go and buy Bitcoin or buy shares. You always hear that. Now, people who have been in the market, who have been wrecked in the market, go out there and rebuild, learn from those mistakes, will always tell you that there is never the best time to buy and there is never the best time to sell. All you need to know is if it is right for you as part of your strategy, it is the best time for you. And if you think about something like Monopoly, you literally get taught that if you continue to play it safe by just stacking the cash, you're going to pay the most in the long term because all you do is you go and rent everyone else's assets while continuing to land on paying taxes as well. So what you want to do is you want to take a risk. Take risk, have conviction around your plays, because honestly, I would not be sitting here making these videos for you if I hadn't taken that risk. And I'm so glad I did. But to be honest, it was scary as shit. And it still scares me today when we're going out there, trying something new, changing things up, because when things are working, you're like, it's easy to be safe. It's easy to be complacent now. This video is meant for you right now. You need to be taking more risk and yes, have the emergency fund, have the buffer there. Once you've built your foundation, you should go out there and take as much risk as possible. Number 7 is real wealth is actually built in the boring years. So if you think about it, you go out there, you purchase your first property, you go out there, you purchase some ETFs and whatnot. The first couple of years, nothing really happens. You're like, oh, cool, my property went up a little bit. Oh, hey, I bought ETFs and they went up by 5%. Whoop-de-doo, I can't retire on that. And so this delayed gratification, this compounding nature of how everything works, only rewards those that are patient during the boring years. It's not about when you're acquiring property, when you're acquiring assets. It's more so when you've acquired them, you're just maintaining and optimizing things and you sit back. It's very different to, say, a business. When you're going out there, you're having to constantly change, optimize, adapt to the market. And if you don't and you're complacent, you basically die. Whereas with investments, the reason why they're considered a bit more passive is because you can go out there, do all the hard work up front, be active, then just wait for time in the market. And that's when you're going to get the biggest gains. So having the patience is the key. Number 8 is run life as a P&L, not a budget. So you've been taught as you go through, you're like, have you got a budget? Hey, what's your budget say? Hey, you're over budget. Forget about the budget. I've never used a budget. What I would focus on is a P&L, a profit and loss statement. And the reason that my mind works like this is probably because I've always been running a business. Now, I want you to think about the same thing because a budget will only tell you how much you earn and what you're spending it on. But what you want is a profit and loss statement. And in that, you're also going to get a balance sheet. And that is very key because what that's going to tell you is what do your assets look like? What do your liabilities look like? If you can go ahead and see your income and it's high, your costs are low, they're trending up or trending down, it tells you a story. Whereas a budget, in most cases, is just a snapshot. Now, mind you, most people don't have a budget full stop. So if you don't have a budget, it's probably a good starting point, and then you go and upgrade to a P&L and a balance sheet. You need to operate your real estate portfolio as well as your life, to be honest, as a company. Now, yes, there's going to be emotions involved and whatnot, but for the rest of it, when it comes to wealth creation, and that's why you're here looking at financial freedom, You've got to operate this logically. So I would get the numbers on paper and go, do the numbers make sense? And if they do, it doesn't matter what I feel. I need to go ahead and trust the numbers. That's how I would operate. Number 9 is grow the portfolio first and harvest it later. Now, there's a very interesting story to someone that was very close to me at one point. It was my best friend at the time. And she said to me, look, I have the option of going ahead on this massive Europe trip, or I can go and buy my first investment property. And you already know what I was gonna say, which is don't worry about Europe, go and get that property, because what will happen is you will have the chance to own the property and go to Europe. And she, of course, was like, yes, of course, I'll do that. And 3 months later, she actually booked the ticket to Europe, blew the money, came back and said, I can always save later. I can go and invest. Now, hopefully she's invested and hopefully she's watching these videos. What's up? But the key learning was that she had the opportunity to buy that property, and 12 months later, she would have been able to extract that equity, go to Europe, enjoy and have the best time ever, and not have to use any of her savings while still holding the asset. Now, in preparation for this video and knowing how much time has actually gone by, that property now would be worth about 400K more than what it was when she would have bought it. And the Europe trip would have cost her probably about $30,000 because she wanted a massive Europe trip. Now, she still spent the $30,000. It just happened to be in the year that she should have bought the property. She didn't buy the property, and for the time that I knew her, she never bought the property again. She definitely didn't get into property, at least an investment property like that. Now, yeah, sure, she's got these memories of Europe and it's amazing. For me personally, I would much rather have the stability of going, hey, you know what? I'm going to take care of my health. So it means I'm young and I can go to Europe next year, but let me go and build a machine. Because if I build the machine well, I will have more choice and more freedom. And to be honest, if I'm going to spend $30,000 at that point and knowing it's coming from equity, I'm going to say, well, actually, my portfolio is already growing. I can spend a little bit more. And it's the same thing, not just for holidays, but also for cars and luxuries in life. I've been investing for 12 years, and for the first time ever, I bought a brand new car this year. And it was a Tesla, it was about $83,000, and I love it. It's very practical, and it's also gonna future-proof me for a while. But to be honest, I've been wanting to buy a car for the last 3 years. And truth be told, I didn't really need it because I'm not very sociable, so I wasn't going anywhere. And to be honest, the metro's great in Sydney. And if I needed to, I could just Uber it everywhere. And I still had a car, it was a second-hand car, and I had it for a while. But it started giving me some issues. So the main point is that I delayed that purchase. I ended up getting something that I absolutely love. It's not a Lambo, and I don't need a Lambo, but just knowing that I could go and purchase that Lambo. I could go and purchase that Range Rover for like $500,000, but I don't need it. And the fact that I could go and delay this process meant that I could go and purchase and it would not affect my lifestyle whatsoever. Now, if you've made it all the way through, I'm going to give you a hack right now. What you can do is you can scroll down, go through, and you'll see transcript. What you need to do is copy and paste that transcript straight into ChatGPT, and what it's going to do is create a reminder for yourself. Go ahead and look at these rules. There's going to be a couple there that really relate to where you're at in life right now. Make note of that, follow through, and actually action these things. If you go and action these things and in 3 months' time you email me, I will be so grateful because this is the reason I make videos for you. If you have enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. If you need help with any of the property investing, getting your team together, definitely contact me. I'll leave links in the description box below. Thanks, guys.